Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Reading Little Blue Books Out Loud While Stoned. Today, we're going to start part 4 of Little Blue Book number 125, titled War Speeches and Addresses of Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was our 13th president, and he served, I have it written down here somewhere, he served, I think, from 1917, let's see, where did I write that down at? There it is. He served from 1913 to 1921. So, World War I, he's the president that took us through World War I. So, a lot of these, almost all of these, will be exclusively about the war, or during World War, the Great War, as they called it. And then all speeches or addresses that are in each video, I will place down in the list, down in the description of the video, so that you know what ones they are. Okay. The first one for this video is Flag Day Address, at Washington. And this is dated June 14th of 1917, and this is Woodrow Wilson's speech on Flag Day. Oh, pardon me. My fellow citizens, we meet to celebrate Flag Day because this flag which we honor and under which we serve is the emblem of our unity, our power, our thought and purpose as a nation. It has no other character than that which we give it from generation to generation. The choices are ours. It floats in majestic silence above the hosts that execute those choices, whether in peace or in war. And yet, though silent, it speaks to us of the past, of the men and women who went before us, and of the records they wrote upon it. We celebrate the day of its birth, and from its birth until now it has witnessed a great history, has floated on high the symbol of great events, of a great plan of life worked out by a great people. We are about to carry it into battle, to lift it where it will draw the fire of our enemies. We are about to bid thousands, hundreds of thousands, it may be millions of our men, the young, the strong, the capable men of the nation, to go forth and die beneath it on fields of blood far away. For what? For some unaccustomed thing? For something for which it has never sought the fire before? The American armies were never before sent across the seas. Why are they sent now? For some new purpose, for which this great flag has never been carried before, or for some old, familiar, heroic purpose for which it has seen men, its own men, die on every battlefield upon which Americans have borne arms since the Revolution? These are the questions which must be answered. We are Americans. We, in our turn, serve America, and can serve her with no private purpose. We must use her flag as she has always used it. We are accountable for the bar of history, and must plead in utter frankness what purpose is it we seek to serve. It is plain enough how we were forced into the war. The extraordinary insult and aggressions of the Imperial German government left us no self-respecting choice but to take up arms in defense of our rights as a free people and of our honor as a sovereign government. The military masters of Germany denied us the right to be neutral. They filled our unsuspecting communities with vicious spies and conspirators, and sought to corrupt the opinion of our people in their own behalf. When they found that they could not do that, their agents diligently spread sedition amongst us and sought to draw our own citizens from their allegiance. And some of those agents were men connected with the official embassy, were men connected with the official embassy of the German government itself here in our own capital. They sought by violence to destroy our industries and arrest our commerce. They tried to incite Mexico to take up arms against us and to draw Japan into a hostile alliance with her. And that, not by indirection, but by direct suggestion from the Foreign Office in Berlin. They impudently denied us the use of the high seas and repeatedly executed their threat that they would send to their death any of our people who ventured to approach the coasts of Europe. And many of our own people were corrupted. Men began to look upon their own neighbors with suspicion, and to wonder if their hot resentment and surprise, whether there was any community in which hostile intrigue did not lurk. What great nation in such circumstances would not take up arms? Much as we had desired peace, it was denied us, and not of our own choice. This flag under which we serve would have been dishonored had we withheld our hand. But that is only part of the story. We know now, as clearly as we knew before we were ourselves engaged, that we are not the enemies of the German people, and that they are not our enemies. They did not originate or desire this hideous war, or wish that we should be drawn into it, and we are vaguely conscious that we are fighting their cause, as they will someday see it, as well as our own. They are themselves in the grip of the same sinister power that has now at last stretched its ugly talons out and drawn blood from us. The whole world is at war because the whole world is in the grip of that power and is trying out the great battle which shall determine whether it is to be brought under its majesty or fling itself free. The war was begun by the military masters of Germany, who proved to be also the masters of Austria-Hungary. These men have never regarded nations as peoples, for whom governments existed and in whom governments had their life. They have regarded them merely as serviceable organizations, which they could by force or intrigue bend or corrupt to their own purpose. They have regarded the smaller states, in particular, and the peoples who could be overwhelmed by force as their neutral tools and instruments of domination, as natural tools. Their purpose has long been avowed. The statesmen of other nations, to whom that purpose was incredible, paid little attention, regarded what German professors expounded in their classrooms and German writers set forth to the world as the goal of German policy, as rather the dream of minds detached from practical affairs, as preposterous private conceptions of German destiny, then as the actual plans of responsible rulers. But the rulers of Germany themselves knew all the while what concrete plans, what well-advanced intrigues lay back of what the professors and the writers were saying, and were glad to go forward unmolested, filling the thrones of Balkan states with German princes, putting German officers at the service of Turkey to drill her armies and make interest with her government, developing plans of sedition and rebellion in India and Egypt, setting their fires in Persia. The demands made by Austria upon Serbia were a mere single step in a plan which compassed Europe and Asia from Berlin to Baghdad. They hoped those demands might not arouse Europe, but they meant to press them whether they did or not, for they thought themselves ready for the final issue of arms. Their plan was to throw a broad belt of German military power and political control across the very center of Europe and beyond the Mediterranean into the heart of Asia. And Austria-Hungary was to be as much their tool and pawn as Serbia or Bulgaria or Turkey or the ponderous states of the East. Austria-Hungary indeed was to become part of the Central German Empire, absorbed and dominated by the same forces and influences that originally cemented the German states themselves. The dream had its heart at Berlin. It could have had a heart elsewhere. It could have had a heart nowhere else. It rejected the idea of solidarity of race entirely. The choice of peoples played no part in it at all. It contemplated binding together racial and political units which could be kept together only by force. Czechs, Magyars, 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 Croats, Serbs, Romanians, Turks, Armenians, the proud states of Bohemia and Hungary, the stout little commonwealths of the Balkans, the indomitable Turks, the subtle peoples of the East. These peoples did not wish to be united. They ardently desired to direct their own affairs, would be satisfied only by undisputed independence. They could be kept quiet only by the presence or the constant threat of armed men. They would live under a common power only by sheer compulsion and await the day of revolution. But the German military statesmen had reckoned with all that and were ready to deal with it in their own way. And they have actually carried the greater part of that amazing plan into execution. Look how things stand. Austria is at their mercy. It has acted not upon its own initiative or upon the choice of its own people, but at Berlin's dictation ever since the war began. Its people now desire peace, but cannot have it until leave is granted from Berlin. The so-called Central Powers are in fact but a single power. Serbia is at its mercy should its hands be but for a moment freed. Bulgaria has consented to its will, and Romania is overrun. The Turkish armies which Germans trained are serving Germany, certainly not themselves, and the guns of German warships lying in the harbor of Constantinople remind Turkish statesmen every day that they have no choice but to take their orders from Berlin. From Hamburg to the Persian Gulf, the net is spread. It is not easy to understand the eagerness for peace that has been manifested from Berlin ever since the snare was set and sprung. Peace, peace, peace has been the talk of her Foreign Office for now a year and more. Not peace upon her own initiative, but upon the initiative of the nations over which she now deems herself to hold the advantage. A little of the talk has been public, but most of it has been private. Through all sorts of channels it has come to me, and in all sorts of guises, but never with the terms disclosed which the German government would be willing to accept. That government has other valuable pawns in its hands, besides those I have mentioned. It still holds a valuable part of France, though with slowly relaxing grasp, and practically the whole of Belgium. Its armies press close upon Russia and overrun Poland at their will. It cannot go further. It dare not go back. It wishes to close its bargain before it is too late, and it has little left to offer for the pound of flesh it will demand. The military masters, after whom Germany is bleeding, see very clearly at what point fate has brought them. If they fall back, or are forced back an inch, their power, both abroad and at home, will fall to pieces like a house of cards. It is their power at home they are thinking about now more than their power abroad. It is that power which is trembling under their very feet, and deep fear has entered their hearts. They have but one chance to perpetuate their military power or even their controlling political influence. If they can secure peace now with the immense advantages still in their hands, which they have up to this point apparently gained, they will have justified themselves before the German people. They will have gained by force what they promised to gain by it: an immense expansion of German power, an immense enlargement of German industrial and commercial opportunities. Their prestige will be secured, and with their prestige their political power. If they fail, their people will thrust them aside. A government accountable to the people themselves will be set up in Germany, as it has been in England, in the United States, in France, and in all the great countries of the modern time, except Germany. If they succeed, they are safe, and Germany and the world are undone. If they fail, Germany is saved, and the world will be at peace. If they succeed, America will fall within the menace. We and all the rest of the world must remain armed as they will remain, and must make ready for the next step in their aggression. If they fail, the world may unite for peace, and Germany may be of the Union. Do you now understand the entire intrigue? The intrigue for peace, and why the masters of Germany do not hesitate to use any agency that promises to effect their purpose, the deceit of the nations? Their present particular aim is to deceive all those who throughout the world stand for the rights of people and the self-government of nations. For they see what immense strength the forces of justice and of liberalism are gathering out of this war. They are employing liberals in their enterprise. They are using men, in Germany and without, as their spokesmen, whom they have hitherto despised and oppressed, using them for their own destruction. Socialists, the leaders of labor, and thinkers, they have hitherto sought to silence. Let them once succeed, and these men, now their tools, will be ground to powder beneath the weight of the great military empire they will have set up. The revolutionists in Russia will be cut off from all succor or cooperation in Western Europe, and a counter-revolution fostered and supported. Germany herself will lose her chance of freedom, and all Europe will arm for the next, the final struggle. The sinister intrigue is being no less actively conducted in this country than in Russia and in every country in Europe to which the agents and dupes of the Imperial German government can get access. That government has many spokesmen here, in places high and low. They have learned discretion. They keep within the law. It is opinion they utter now, not sedition. They proclaim the liberal purposes of their masters, declare this foreign war which can touch America with no danger to either her lands or her institutions, set England at the center of the stage, and talk of her ambition to assert economic dominion throughout the world, appeal to our ancient tradition of isolation in the politics of the nations, and seek to undermine the government with false professions of loyalty to its principles. But they will make no headway. The false betray themselves always in every accent. It is only friends and partisans of the German government whom we have already identified who utter these thinly disguised disloyalties. The facts are patent to all the world, and nowhere are they more plainly seen than in the United States, where we are accustomed to deal with facts and not with sophistries. And the great fact that stands out above all the rest is that this is a people's war, a war for freedom and justice and self-government amongst all the nations of the world, a war to make the world safe for the peoples who live upon it and have made it their own, the German people themselves included, and that with us rests the choice to break through all these hypocrisies and patent cheats and masks of brute force and help set the world free, or else stand aside and let it be dominated a long age through by sheer weight of arms and the arbitrary choice of self-constituted masters, by the nation which can maintain the highest armies and the most irresistible armaments, a power to which the world has afforded no parallel, in the face of which political freedom must wither and perish. For us, there is but one choice. We have made it. Woe be to the man or group of men that seeks to stand in our way in this day of high resolution, when every principle we hold dearest is to be vindicated and made secure for the salvation of the nations. We are ready to plead at the bar of history, and our flag shall wear a new luster. Once more we shall make good with our lives and fortunes the great faith to which we were born, and a new glory shall shine in the face of our people. And that is the end of Woodrow Wilson's Flag Day speech. And he only talked about the flag for 2 paragraphs. Not even sure if it was a page. And then went into talking about the war. Let's see. Yeah, it was a page. Just a little over a page. And then the other 4 or 5 pages. But this is Flag Day Address at Washington, June 14th, 1917, by Woodrow Wilson, our 13th president. And let's see here. What else is next? See if there's a small one next I can add to this. Oh, yes. Okay, here's a small one-pager. This is a message to soldiers and sailors, dated August of 1917 by Woodrow Wilson. The Bible is the word of life. I beg that you will read it and find this out for yourselves. Read, not little snatches here and there, but long passages that will really be the road to the heart of it. You will find it full of real men and women, not only, but also of things you have wondered about and been troubled about all your life, as men have been always. And the more you read, the more it will become plain to you what things are worthwhile and what are not, what things make men happy, loyalty, right dealings, speaking the truth, readiness to give everything for what they think their duty, and most of all, the wish that they may have the real approval of the Christ, who gave everything for them, and the things that are guaranteed to make men unhappy, selfishness, cowardice, greed, and everything that is low and mean. When you have read the Bible, you will know that it is the Word of God, because you will have found it the key to your own heart, your own happiness, and your own duty. And soldiers and seamen were not even mentioned in that. Just a whole bunch of Bible gobbledygook. And then the next one is a reply to the Pope. And I think we may have to wait till the next... Oh, no, it's just a couple pages. Okay, here's the third one. This is a reply to the Pope, and I'm not sure what Pope was in office in 1917. If maybe I'll put it in the comments. Or if anybody figures out, put it in the comments. This is reply to the Pope, August 27th, 1917. Hold on. Cottonmouth. Okay, that's better. Tell you what. Okay, I'm back. All right, here we go. Reply to the Pope, dated August 27th, 1917. In acknowledgement of the communication of your holiness to the belligerent peoples dated August 1st, 1917, the President of the United States requests me to transmit the following reply. Every heart that has not been blinded and hardened by this terrible war must be touched by this moving appeal of His Holiness the Pope, must feel the dignity and force of the humane and generous motives which prompted it, and must fervently wish that we might take the path of peace he so persuasively points out. But it would be folly to take it if it does not in fact lead to the goal he proposes. Our response must be based upon the stern facts and upon nothing else. It is not a mere cessation of arms he desires. It is a stable and enduring peace. This agony must not be gone through with again, and it must be a matter of very sober judgment. What will ensure us against it? His Holiness, in substance, proposes that we return to the status quo antebellum, and that then there be a greater condemnation, disarmament, and a concert of nations based upon an acceptance of the principle of arbitration, that by a similar concert, freedom of the seas be established, and that the territorial claims of France and Italy, the perplexing problems of the Balkan states, and the restitution of Poland be left to such conciliatory adjustments as may be possible in the new temper of such a peace, due regard being paid to the aspirations of the peoples whose political fortunes and affiliations will be involved. It is manifest that no part of this program can be successfully carried out unless the restitution of the status quo ante furnishes a firm and satisfactory basis for it. The object of this war is to deliver the free peoples of the world from the menace of the actual power of a vast military establishment controlled by an irresponsible government which, having secretly planned to dominate the world, proceeded to carry the plan out without regard either to the sacred obligations of treaty or the long-established practices and long-cherished principles of international action and honor, which chose its own time for the war, delivered its blow fiercely and suddenly, stopped at no barrier either of law or of mercy, swept a whole continent within the tide of blood, not the blood of soldiers only, but the blood of innocent women and children also, and of the helpless poor, and now stands balked but not defeated, the enemy of 4/5 of the world. This power is not the German people. It is the ruthless master of the German people. It is no business of ours how the great people came under its control or submitted with temporary zest to the domination of its purpose. But it is our business to see to it that the history of the rest of the world is no longer left to its handling. To deal with such a power by way of peace upon the plan proposed by His Holiness the Pope would, so far as we can see, involve a recuperation of its strength and a renewal of its policy, would make it necessary to create a permanent hostile combination of nations against the German people who are its instruments, and would result in abandoning the new-born Russia to the intrigue, the manifold subtle interference, and the certain counter-revolution which would be attempted by all the malign influences to which the German government has of late accustomed the world. Can peace be based upon a restitution of its power, or upon any word of honor it could pledge in a treaty or settlement or accommodation? Responsible statesmen must now everywhere see, if they never saw before, that no peace can rest securely upon political or economic restrictions meant to benefit some nations and cripple or embarrass others, upon vindictive action of any sort, or any kind of revenge or deliberate injury. The American people have suffered intolerable wrongs at the hands of the Imperial German government, but they desire no reprisal upon the German people, who have themselves suffered all things in this war, which they did not choose. They believe that peace should rest upon the rights of peoples, not the rights of governments. Rights of peoples, great or small, weak or powerful, their equal right to freedom and security and self-government, and to a participation upon fair terms in the economic opportunities of the world. The German people, of course, included, if they will, accept equality and not seek dominator. The test, therefore, of every plan of peace is this. It is based upon the faith of all the peoples involved in, or merely upon the word of an ambitious and intriguing government on the one hand, and of a group of free peoples on the other? This is a test which goes to the root of the matter, and it is the test which must be applied. The purpose of the United States in this war are known to the whole world, to every people to whom the truth has been permitted to come. They do not need to be stated again. We seek no material advantage of any kind. We believe that the intolerable wrongs done in the war by the furious and brutal power of the Imperial German government ought to be repaired, but not at the expense of the sovereignty of any people. Rather, a vindication of the sovereignty both of those who are weak and of those who are strong. Punitive damages, the dismemberment of empires, the establishment of selfish and exclusive economic leagues, we deem inexpedient and in the end worse than futile, no proper basis for a peace of any kind, least of all for an enduring peace. That must be based upon justice and fairness and the common rights of mankind. We cannot take the word of the present rulers of Germany as a guarantee of anything that is to endure, unless explicitly supported by such conclusive evidence of the will and support of the German people themselves as the other peoples of the world would be justified in accepting. Without such guarantees, treaties of settlement, agreements for disarmament, covenants to set up arbitration in the place of force, territorial adjustments, reconstitutions, reconstitutions of small nations, if made with the German government, no man, no nation could now depend on. We must await some new evidence of the purposes of the great peoples of the Central Powers. God grant it may be given soon, and in a way to restore the confidence of all peoples everywhere in the faith of nations and the possibility of a convented peace. And that's the end of the letter to response to the Pope. And what is next? I think that's where we'll end that. Okay, this brings us to the end of part 4 of Little Blue Book number 125, titled War Speeches and Addresses of Woodrow Wilson, our 13th president. Thanks for listening, and join me in part 5.